Um, a member of Renton Sailing will basically take them out in one of our dinghies and basically just give them a feel as to what sailing is actually like, in a hope that they will be interested enough to come back and perhaps take classes and join Renton Sailing. It's open to pretty much anybody. You don't have to have sailed before. We do ask that if there are young children participating, that they be accompanied by a parent or a guardian. But that's really the only significant restriction that we do have. Everybody will be provided with a PFD. And the other big thing that I want members of Renton Sailing to be aware of is that we do have a very high need for volunteers to help out that day. We need skippers to skipper the boats. We need to have at least one member of Renton Sailing in each boat. You should be an intermediate or advanced sailor to skipper the boats. We also need people on the dock. We need people to help with the fitting of PFDs. We need people to help with the check-in of folks who have already reserved a slot, but we do need to double check that their reservation is complete and that they have signed all of the liability forms, et cetera, before they can go out on the boat. So we need some folks on the dock.
I think Brian,
we're interested in getting some volunteer hours in. This would be a great opportunity. You can volunteer for the entire period. It's going to start at 11 a.m. and will be done by about 4 p.m. If you can volunteer for the entire period, that would be great. But if you only have 2 hours available, we'll make use of you for those 2 hours as well. So I would encourage people to mark it on their calendar if they're available on June 19th, and to reach out to me and let me know that you're available to volunteer and what kind of volunteer work you might be available to do that day, whether you're willing to skipper a boat or to work on the dock or whatever it might be.
Fantastic. Thanks for running all those awesome things, Brian.
And thanks particularly to Tyler for setting up the registration system, which is a vast improvement on the old paper way of doing things. So it's really taken us into the 21st century.
Thanks. Hey, Don and Judy, we're going to hold people's feet to the fire to renew their membership. And I think, Brian, you've got a hand in this, but do you want to mention anything about the changing of the gate combo and how we're getting the word out on that to our renewed members?
Yeah, just a heads up to everybody. I think Young's getting the message out, or Judy is rather, but we did change the gate code today. And so we'll get that. I think Judy had sent me an email already saying she's going to get the note out to all the appropriate people, which advanced people, I guess, as to what that is. So the only thing we changed were the entryway to the dock, plus all the dock boxes and Gig Harbor. You know, all the ones that are right there on the dock itself.
So Judy, I'm going to need that new number for the weekend. I'm planning on going sailing. So if you could.
Yeah, I'll have it sent out by end of day today, I think. So
great. Thank you.
Yep.
Always a little logistics to figure out when someone can get there and change the locks and coordinate that with someone to get the word out to our advanced members. So if you don't get that email here pretty soon and you think you've renewed and stuff like that, let's figure out the snafu and stuff like that. So I'll give you all the access you need, or if you need to renew your membership, just go do that. Anything else to mention, Don, on maintenance stuff that we might have missed in the newsletter?
No, I haven't. I just noticed the newsletter, and so I haven't gone through it as to what's there, but we did get a Don Fleming volunteer to do 3 or 4 items, primarily on the Catalina 27. And so we're just coordinating that today and looking forward to getting, I actually added his name to the 4 or 5 different items that are on our maintenance list. So he's going to go on vacation here for a couple of weeks, but as soon as he gets back, he wants to attack several of those items.
Fantastic. All right. Jan, you want to cover the treasurer's report, and I will attempt to share my screen here and get that pulled up.
Sure.
There we are.
Pretty much have
there it is.
Participant already see that. Okay. So for the first quarter, it's kind of like a slow quarter. Our membership starting to come in, and also the donations as well. Well, mostly expense we spend first of like quarters on the lease and other like a license, mailbox, etc. So we can see we have added about a little over $2,000 to our fund, and by the end of March. So yeah, increase our operating fund, and dog box and also the motor and new boat fund are stay the same. Yeah, that's pretty much about a Q1. Any questions?
Yeah,
will make-
this is Brett. I was curious on that's a lot of donations. What happened there?
I think good question. Most of these come from Tyler, and I think some are from the Starbucks before I leave, before I leave the company. So left the company. So there are some small donations.
That's awesome.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So is that Boeing matching funds then with regard?
Yeah, Boeing has a matching fund. I think Brian, you probably have some over there as well. I think Tyler made about quite a bit. I think it was over $1,000 to that donation. So that's awesome.
We need to recruit more Boeing people.
Yeah, at Boeing, it's a volunteer time match. So for every hour you volunteer, I believe they donate to the charity, the nonprofit organization you're volunteering for. I believe it's $15 an hour, which is significant if you teach a lesson or something like that. So, or two, or help out with a couple. So that's awesome. And then, a lot of people just make a little gift when they do their membership. There's an opportunity to do that. So I'm sure we got some money there.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, there are some donations through the membership as well.
Yeah, it's not only Boeing. Any major IT company, they also doing this kind of matching, like
Yes.
Amazon, Facebook, or whatever. Microsoft,
I will make mention that we'll probably see in the month of April, May, quite a bit of income from lessons. Just so people know, we changed the registration software. It used to go through the city of Renton, and then we would have to beg them for paying us for the income on the lessons. It usually came in November. But at this point, as soon as someone signs for a lesson, they pay their fee, and we're going to see that income immediately. So look for a little shift in that. But it's important to note that as people come by the dock, or you've got friends in your neighborhood or at work that are interested in sailing lessons, that we change that registration software, and it's really nice. We've got people on wait lists for classes already. We've already got some full classes.
Wow.
And yeah, so we'll be able to publish that even earlier going forward. So yeah, big thank you to Lauren and Tyler for on the land share of that work on getting that going. I was going to make one other mention that our new boat fund, we just purchased 3 RS Visions and a boat storage rack. There's a picture of that and some more description on the boat in the newsletter there. But
The RSS, you mean, right?
Or yeah, thank you for the correction there, Don. That was my slip of the tongue there. So we did a little over $10,000 deposit, and that was for 50% of that, and then we'll owe another $10,000. Hopefully the boats will be delivered late June, early July, so we'll owe the rest of that at that point there. So just some things to look forward. But yeah, great to share this. Thank you, Jan, for keeping up our books and everything. But I just want to make sure everybody knows that we're spending your money thoughtfully as we go forward in this organization. So stop share for a second here. Oh, I mentioned the ZES. Couple of upcoming meetings. We mentioned some in the calendar. In the month of August, our meeting is going to be a picnic in the park, and the Marine Search and Rescue Unit with the Renton Fire Department will be providing our program. So they've got a dive team, and they do search and rescue and on the water rescues and swift water rescue. So they're going to bring their Marine unit to our dock for that meeting. So we're pretty excited about that. I know Beth is going to be doing a program on some of the sailboat chartering she's been doing in the Caribbean, which she's currently on vacation doing that.
Just to add to that about the Marine Rescue Service, John,
Mhm.
we'll also be having a barbecue on the dock that
Oh,
evening
yeah.
as well. So I get to subject you all to my cooking again. So we'll see how that goes.
It'll be hamburgers that are hard to screw up. So,
Yeah, hamburgers and hot dogs that are hard to mess up. Exactly.
Fantastic. Thank you. And the other cool thing that's happening right now that everybody should hopefully pay attention to, Lizzie Grimm, she's one of our sailmakers over at Ballard Sails. She's going to start her participation in the Clipper Round the World race. She's participating in the last 2 legs. The boats are currently at Bell Harbor. And they're going to shove off right at the end of this month, go through Panama Canal and race to New York City, and then across the Atlantic to England. She's on those 2 legs there. So that's a really interesting pay to play race on a 70-foot, really fast, high performance boat. So that'll be interesting. She does a lot of stuff with mental health awareness, and she's a big fixture in the sailing community. So we're looking forward to her speaking later on this fall here. So any questions or any other announcements to add that I didn't put on my list? All right. Well, our program tonight, and if anybody thinks of anything else, we'll pick it up at the end of the program. Just put something in the chat and we'll make sure we circle back around on that. Our program tonight is going to be on sailing ergonomics, and a couple of things. I've been around sailing for a little while, became a small boat sailing instructor in 2015. And since then, I've gotten my level 1, 2, and 3 small boat sailing instructor, and got my keelboat instructor in 2017. So that's sort of the limit of my expertise on sailing ergonomics. I did some searching in some old magazines and textbooks and stuff like that, and there's not a lot on the subject. Some of it's sort of embedded in some of the sailing textbooks and everything. So that being said, I am not an expert in ergonomics. I am not a physical therapist or a chiropractor. I don't know too much about human anatomy. So this will be sort of what I've seen and what feels good and stuff like that. Encourage everyone here to participate in some discussion and what you know, because we can all learn from each other here. And I'm coming at this from someone that's in pretty good health. I don't have any knee or back injuries or anything like that. So those of us that have some small or large disabilities to overcome, please share your experiences there and some ways that you've gotten around some of the challenges with sailing here too. So give me a moment and I will share my screen again here. And is that gonna go? Big screen. There it goes. Okay. Everybody seeing the screen okay? All right, cool. So I sort of like this picture as a introduction here. And what are some things that people are doing good that you see in this picture, sort of ergonomic wise? See if people can figure out. And I wrote some of them over here too. So.
I think using the hiking strap is for the feet down there is really a good thing for balance.
Yeah, that is. So yeah, this boat, just sort of judging on what I know on sailing a vision, they're probably sailing at about 12 knots of breeze. You know, sometimes we get 12 knots. That's sort of the ideal conditions, right? And where you can just we've got an adult and looks like a teenager there, and they're you know, the boat's fully powered up. They got full main. They're heading to windward, and they're just starting to hike out. So they're just getting to the point that they're going to want to start using the hiking straps for sure. Put a little note in here that ideally going to windward, we're going to try and keep the boat flat or level, or maybe about 5 degrees of leeward heel. We get much more than that, and we start to get a lot of weather helm there. So they're certainly working together to keep the boat flat there. What else do we see in the picture?
The helmsman is nicely forward in the boat.
Yeah. Sometimes we'll see people and they're sitting so far back in the boat that it gets in the way of controlling the helm, and they actually have to move forward or underneath the helm or something like that, or they go to tack and the helm sticks them right in the back or in the butt or something like that. So yeah, the helms person sitting far enough forward, that also is going to help the boat in its sailing. And you'll see a lot of people where to, and I think I've got some pictures of this later on, where they're sitting a little bit further in the back, and you can see the front of the boat coming out of the water. And there's actually what's called the knuckle right at the bow of the boat. And we'll see a good picture of this later on. But we want the knuckle of the boat down in the water there instead of popping a wheelie. And what happens when the boat starts to pop a wheelie, it wants to tend to start bearing away. And then also it's going to be slow, because the biggest part of the boat there at the transom is dragging through the water. So we want to keep our weight in the center of the boat if we can. What are some other good things that these guys are doing?
I think it's the tail extension, right?
Yeah, the helmsperson's holding the tiller extension, and just like I'm holding my pen, I'm holding it like a microphone. He could almost reach in there and do his best Billy Idol impression or something like that too. So that's really good. Also, he's holding the tiller extension with his aft hand, and that opens up the forward hand to hold the main sheet there too. So he's doing a good job on using the tiller extension. Anything else there? Oh, I was going to say on the tiller extension, I'll move my cursor over here. We also see that his shoulders are outside of the boat, so he can look forward and he can see the telltales on the jib there. And it's good to keep your shoulders outside the boat. You're just going to be a little bit more comfortable. So in using the hiking straps, oh, here's a good question. Where's his bottom? Is he sitting on his knees or on his bottom?
It says over there, sits on the bottom.
Yeah, he's sitting on his bottom. So that's a good place to for an extended period of time to put your weight. And we'll see some pictures of some sailors with their weight on their knees, and that creates other challenges there too. So if you can sit on your bottom, that will really help just not kill your knees. And his none of these angles are more than 90 degrees. So his back to his thighs, that's a less than 90 degree angle right there. And then his knees are bent at less than a 90 degree angle. And we'll see some pictures later on where people's knees are scrunched up in there. And I know that it doesn't take an expert to say it's going to be more comfortable to sit on your bottom. And if you can keep your knees at less than a 90 degree angle, that's going to be more comfortable, even in a small boat like the Vision. So, all right. Yeah, great job. Well, the next couple of pictures are, a lot of them are pictures of, there's probably pictures of everyone, including me. And there's some good examples and some bad examples in there. So let's just use this as a learning opportunity. We're fortunate to have some really good pictures. A lot of them are taken by Ed on last year on Tuesday nights, but there's pictures from lessons. So we've got photos going way back. So there's a lot of good stuff in here. So let's just remember, be kind to each other, since we'll probably recognize ourselves and others that we know. What's good and bad here?
I think the helmsman's leaning forward, which probably gonna hurt the lower back.
Yeah, that's a good point here. Probably be more comfortable if the helmsperson were to sit. You know, we've got the benches in there, and they're a little less pronounced on the vision. You're really going to sit on the side of the boat. It's the design's going to lead you to that on the vision, but on the Quest, we got those benches in there, and it sort of leads you to sit inside the boat, which might feel a little bit more secure for a new sailor, but it's causing the helmsman to then twist his back to see the telltales there. So that's one thing. That's a good observation there. What else? Good, bad, and ugly here.
Not using the extension.
Yeah, and that's causing his shoulders to roll inside the boat there, not using the tiller extension.
Yeah.
And yeah, just my recommendation is just, it doesn't take long to, once you start using the tiller extension, to really figure out how to use it. And we'll see a picture later on where someone's doing a tack and they're not using the tiller extension, and that you can see where the tiller extension can get stuck inside the boat and sort of really mess up your tack. And then it just sort of becomes some dominoes of other problems. Anything else in this? I like that the crew is sitting on the windward side of the boat there. In this picture, you can see that the knuckle, or where the bow makes its turn right here, that's in the water. The boat's sailing on its lines. It's not really dragging its transom much through the water. Maybe the helmsman could sit a little bit further forward so the tiller doesn't jab him when he goes to do tack or jibe there. All right. Anything else about this photo? I think we've dissected that. Here's another one. I recognize one of these guys here. What's good, bad, and ugly about this photo?
The good's on the right side.
Yes. Don's smiling.
Yeah.
We're winning the race. I took this photo because I was shocked to see the entire fleet behind us. So that's all good. How about the helmsperson? What side of the boat are they sitting on?
On the leeward side.
Yeah. So usually going to windward, you on most boats, until you get to a much larger keel boat, the helmsperson's going to always sit on the windward side of the boat, especially on a boat with a tiller. Going to windward, I'll give some when we start talking off the wind, I'll give an exception to that rule there. How about tiller extension?
Yeah, he's got it in his right hand instead of his left hand.
Yeah, it's sort of the forward hand, and maybe Neil sort of leaned in to get in the frame of the photo or something like that there too. So that just causes a little bit of a challenge when you go to tack there, but it's not bad. Hey, we're winning the race there, so we're doing something right. So
He's got both hands on the tiller, so I mean,
yeah.
redundancy, right?
Yeah. Maybe, yeah, probably just not comfortable holding the tiller extension at the end there like a microphone. So, all right. Oh, here's a picture of sailing off the wind. What's good, bad here?
I think that's the chance to break the tiller by not using tail extension, bend it all the way over there.
Yeah, it looks like we're using the tiller extension because I see it being held up there. When you're everybody's sort of in the center of the boat there, which is sort of okay, but looks like the helmsperson's shoulders are hunched over a little bit. That could get uncomfortable after a little while there. interesting. I learned when I took my level 3 training, and we did that in 420s, and did a little research on sailing 420s, and all the 420 sailors, as soon as they're sailing off the wind, the helmsperson will then sit to leeward, and the crew will then sit to windward. Any idea why we might want to do that in sailing off the wind? This is with a spinnaker up. Good. No one. Okay, so we
Well, I
can
think-
see. Go ahead, Don.
Oh, yeah, just, I'm trying to analyze it a little bit, but right now in the picture you're seeing, as opposed to what you just said with 420, it looks like the helmswoman is trying to look under the mainsail to see if anything's to leeward.
Mhm.
And I think that's one of the bigger issues when you've got all those sails up there. You need somebody looking to leeward to see if there's going to be a crossing activity occurring.
Yeah, so that could be just a temporary thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it could be a temporary thing. And I was trying to transition that thought into what you were just talking about, which would almost seem backwards. It's like I would still, I don't know why you do that.
Yeah,
You
the
know.
reason you would have the crew sit the windward and the helmsperson, well, I mean, some of it were sort of back to that original slide. We're trying to keep the boat flat or 5 degrees heel to leeward. But in this case, the crew who's trimming the spinnaker, they can see the luff of the spinnaker. And we'll see another picture that's a little bit more pronounced where the crew person has no view of the spinnaker at all. And they're sitting really far to leeward there. So yeah, I mean, they're doing a lot of things right there. I mean, they're going, you can tell they're going fast. They're not dragging the transom through the water. Everything looks good. Oh, here's a great photo. And it shows a lot of cool things here. What's some analysis of this picture?
Well, one thing that's kind of at least obvious to me is the boat to starboard there. Nobody's looking forward.
Oh, okay, yeah. So
or even at the crossing coming up.
yeah. And
again, that may be just a instantaneous just snapshot for a second.
Exactly, yeah. And obviously boat number 1, it's hard to tell, through a telephoto lens if someone's well ahead or well behind there too. That's one challenge of photography with especially a really long lens there. One thing I noticed on boat number 1 there, the boat that's to leeward there, that's a good thing is the helmsperson is sitting, well, they're off the wind, but they're sitting on the windward side, but they're keeping the boat flat or, maybe no more than 5 degrees heel to leeward there, which makes the crew, you can see the crew is almost hiking out to leeward there. So that's a good thing because we're keeping the boat level, we're keeping our weight far enough forward. The helmsperson's using the tiller extension there. This would be a good example of where the crew is probably not going to be able to see the luff of the spinnaker and see when it's curling and when to trim it back in. So maybe a good option there would be to for the helmsman to go down to leeward and the crew to sit to windward there. It was interesting. I think there's another picture there of the same crew later on, and I think they're going to windward there, but you can see how important is that the crew is moving their weight around on the boat wherever it needs to be to keep that boat flat or heeled 5 degrees to leeward. Let's sort of contrast with that, the boat that's sort of in the foreground, number 7 there. Anything we can see in that picture? And I know it's probably a little bit hard to tell, especially if you have a small screen. How about let's start with the helmsperson. Can we see a tiller extension in the photo? No. And You can see the shoulders are rolled into the boat there. And everybody's sort of inside the boat there. But the crew's doing a good job of keeping the boat flat there too. So that's going to be a little bit more challenging when they go to tack of not using the tiller extension. We'll talk about I've got some good diagrams for the tack there. So it's a good, oh, here's the same boats right here. And you can see same crew and everything. And those two boats are right together there. So on to quest number 7, is the helmsperson sitting far enough forward, do you think? Yeah, I see some head shaking. Probably not. That tiller is probably going to get in the way there. Yeah, but we're doing and here's we may be on this number 7 might be on a wave right there, but it looks like the bow of the boat's just starting to come out. We've got a little, some of our weight a little too far aft there. And the boat's not really quite sitting on its lines, because you can see the line right where the chine is, and you can see that chine poking out of the water there. So yeah, and then we've got sailor all the way to leeward there, sailing single-handed, and we'll talk about some of sailing single-handed here in a couple of slides there. How about these slides? Good, bad, ugly? I think everything looks pretty good here. Number 6, they're using the tiller extension. They're sitting on their bottom. They're forwarded the tiller extension. Same thing on number 1 here. They just got enough breeze that they can start hiking out. And you can tell on number 1, they've got their feet in the straps here. So maybe he doesn't need to quite hike as hard, and the crew can maybe move the windward a little bit. Might make this helmsperson not have to quite work as hard there. Oh, here's an example off the wind. We can see the helmsperson maybe doesn't have to hike quite so hard, right? Because the crew's hiking out the leeward here. Can you see that? And can the crew see the left of the spinnaker there, do you think?
I think so. That looks a little odd.
Yeah, it does look a little odd. So they can probably move their weight a little bit more into the center of the boat. And that's a good example of where you can get some more visibility of the left of the spinnaker by switching sides and the helmsperson going to leeward there when you're off the wind. How about this picture? I like it. This is one of some of my sailing students here. I think, is the boat sitting on its lines?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you can tell right from the boot stripe there that the boat's sitting on its lines. Helmsperson, we're a little off the wind there, but they're using their tiller extension. I mean, I can definitely see it there. They're holding it in their aft hand there. Yeah, everything looks great there. And maybe it's sort of hard to do, but maybe his back's twisted a little bit. He might have his knees sort of in front of him a little bit there too, because there's no hiking straps in this boat. So probably pretty comfortable there.
Yeah, I was just about to ask why on that one he had decided to, I can understand face forward, but I would have thought like the back of his PFD would have been flat on toward us, and he would have, twisted his head to the left to look straight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's probably got it's hard to tell from the photo there, but he's probably got his knees in front of him or something like that.
Yeah.
Which is, okay. Ideally, we're going to be sitting on the windward side, just sort of like in that first photo with the models there. So, Okay, here's one of our challenges is sailing a two-person boat single-handed. And we do this for all kinds of reason. I think this photo was taken during COVID when we were encouraging household crews or single-handed crews. But the cool thing about our RS Vision and RS Quest designs is they've got this center thwart that you can sit on. And here, the boat is sitting perfectly on its lines fore and aft. You can see we're not dragging the transom there. And the boat is heeled just a couple of degrees to leeward there. And then in this case, you got to reach behind you with the tiller extension. But then you also have to reach behind you to trim or ease the mainsail. But you can reach all these other lines for the jib, the furler, the spinnaker sheets right in front of you there. So that's the way it's generally recommended a place to sit when you're sailing single-handed on these boats. And you probably, and then when I'm really hiking on sailing single-handed, we might have a picture of that. I'm usually going to straddle that center thwart in the boat and put my forward foot in the hiking strap forward of the thwart and put my aft foot in the hiking strap aft of the thwart, if that makes sense. So, and cool thing about the design, if you everybody here's tried some rudderless sailing. Yep. Cool thing about the design of this boat is that that little bench on that center thwart really helps with that, with keeping, because if you want the boat to go straight when you're sailing rudderless sailing, you're going to keep the boat flat, or you're going to hike or move to leeward to get the boat to turn one way or the other by making it turn on its chines here. But having your weight in the center of the boat really helps to do that. So, I remember, I was going to mention this earlier, but when I joined Renton Sailing Center, that's probably been 8 or 10 years ago or something like that. It was standard equipment to bring knee pads. And then I think we sort of made the knee pad thing go away soon after I took my small boat sailing class. It's like, because you should usually always be sitting on your bottom. And we'll talk about that a little bit more here too. Oh, speaking of on your knees here, I think these guys just won the race here because they're right at the committee boat, if I remember from this picture, and they're smiling and laughing too. But any idea why Henry is on his knees there? No idea. Okay, this is sort of a this is a light wind racing trick right here. At the very front of the boat here, the boat gets really narrow, and then as you get further aft, the boat gets wider and wider. It's sort of like a big triangle going through the water. So in light wind, you can see that Henri's moved his weight as far forward as he can, and then Guilan is actually sitting straddling that center thwart right there. Oops, accidentally advanced the slide there. And so they've got as much weight forward. So you can see right there, the bow is almost buried in the water. So I got the narrowest part of the boat in the water. And that's a trick for light wind sailing because you reduce the wetted surface. So you're not dragging the big fat part of the boat through the water. So probably not necessary to get on your knees to do that, but you can get extreme. I've seen people on etchels and they'll stuff people up in the bow and all kinds of stuff to get the narrow part of the boat in the water. So here's another picture sailing off the wind there, and looks pretty good here. I would say that, you know, switching the crew around, That's just a trick I learned this summer from the 420 sailors, but that could help you see the left of the spinnaker a little bit easier and help with your trimming there. How about this photo? Any good, bad, ugly there?
Helmsman could probably be more forward.
Yeah, hard to say there. I think the boat's pretty flat. You can obviously the transom's not dragging through the water. Maybe it's it's hard to tell from that angle, but certainly it looks like they've got a reef in. They're powered up and everything, moving along. So I think that looks pretty good there. Here's another one that looks pretty good. Crew weight's all forward and everything there. Using the tiller extension like you're supposed to. Here's another one. Looks like we could get the helmsman out to windward a little bit. Yeah, Jan?
Yeah, I feel like the boat is probably, the helmsman probably can sit forward a little bit.
Yeah.
Like
Here you can, this is a great picture because
Yeah.
you can actually see the knuckle out of the water there. Yeah, so that
Mhm.
boat's going to tend to want to bear away there. How about this? Does that look comfortable?
sitting on in the boat.
Yeah, that's actually it's better if you can get the crew to move to leeward a little bit more, and the helmsperson can actually sit up on this part of the boat. That's going to make we can see that the knees are bent more than 90-degree angle there. Probably got the weight a little too far aft there. Yeah. That one looks great, huh? How about this one? That looks pretty good, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, using the tiller extension, but we can tell we're powered up. We got a reef in the main and we're just moving right along, but the boat's flat, sealed a degree or two to leeward there. Oh, all looks great there. Weight's far enough forward there. You can see the telltales. Here you can, this is an interesting photo. You can tell the crew on number 2, they're hiking harder. They're even out on the trapeze there. And you can tell from the mast that number 2, they've got about 1 or 2 degrees of leeward heel here, where number 6, that's getting, that's probably like 8 degrees leeward heel there. So you can see the helmsperson holding tiller extension, right? But maybe it's time to put the feet in the hiking straps and get a little further out there. And you'll have a little less weather helm there once you get the boat flat, and it'll be going a little bit faster. All right, how about these? These are cool pictures here, aren't they?
Mhm.
This is about as much wind as you can sail a Vision in right here, obviously, right? Because boats are well heeled over. I mean, we're almost got the rail in the water here, right? And crews are hiking hard here. That looks like good hiking. Feet are in the hiking straps there. We got our weight well outboard. So there becomes, once you got a reef in the main and you've unpowered everything, you sort of last a little bit as to feather up into the breeze a little bit and ease the main sheet a little bit. All that's going to slow you down, but speed helps with some buoyancy to leeward there, once you get in those conditions. But these guys look great here. They're dealing with all that. Another good picture of single-handed sailing there. And you can sit on that center thwart there and keep the boat flat. Looks like, hard to tell from the picture, but we might be hilled, a couple of degrees to windward, which is going to be on these boats. You can do it on a windsurfer, or they certainly do it on what's the boat, but some boats, the design is you get this big part of the sail. It's called kiting the main there, but it's a little hard to get the Gennaker to fly then when you do that on a Gennaker boat. Probably went a little crazy. How about this? Looks good. Yeah, looks like all these angles are, 90 degrees or less there. Crew's sitting, far enough to leeward to keep the boat heeled a little bit to leeward. And weight set far enough forward there. Oh, here's the pictures of the Zest. So it's going to be a tiny bit challenging, but you'll see in the next slide that they've got that center thwart seat. So these are going to be great boats, especially when people come down to the dock and they want to sail by themselves, or it's just going to be challenging to partner them up, because our double-handed boats have, for obvious reasons, are designed for two people to sail, so they're going to be a little harder to sail single-handed. So it's going to be a great option. But any good, bad, ugly with this picture?
It is
Nice.
perfect. It is absolutely perfect.
Oh, Anna's here. Yes.
No, I've been here. I was
Yeah.
just eating. So,
Yeah.
but see, the
Yeah.
other thing is, like, when you're posing for a photo, it's not your best sailing. So, like, no judgment there.
Yeah, no, it looks good. I see a 90-degree angle between the back and the thighs there. Maybe that forward knee's bent more than 90 degrees. It's a little challenging, but
Yeah, the Zest's
maybe not
actually
too
a little bit
uncomfortable.
like smallish. So I think you have to get used to actually your legs being all the way on the other side of the boat.
Yeah, so this will be a little bit a challenge to get used to. This was, I think it was the summer right before the pandemic that we got a
Yep.
demo sail on these boats. But no, this looks good. You're using the tiller extension there. We've got about, probably you can tell from the angle right here. We've got about 5 degrees leeward heel, which is perfect there. So you might be able to move your hike out a little bit more and be a little bit more comfortable there. But yeah, that looks great. How about this photo here? What's good, bad, and ugly there?
Well, it's still not bad. It's just that I guess depending on your weight, there you have to be in a different location in the boat, even in the same
Yeah.
conditions.
Yeah, I would say couple of things that just makes my knees hurt.
See, yeah,
right
it looks
there.
like he's on his knees. Yeah.
Yeah. What probably be easier, looks like it's not super windy here. We're obviously got the sails eased out there, so we're sailing off the wind. But the boat's, got this, 5-degree leeward heel, probably. It's sort of hard to tell there. But maybe if we moved forward and sat on the center thwart right here, that's the green part right there, that would get the knuckle down into the water there. And you'd be able to sit on your bottom instead of on your knees. So that's sorry, Mark, if you're on the call there, but that was a good example of what not to do there. I mean, but looks like Mark's having a fun time sailing around and everything. But
Yeah, that was
I'm
also
sure
a
his knees
very
are
low
killing
wind
him.
there.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Here I am sailing the same boat. Any criticism of me there?
You're too far back. You can see.
Maybe I'm sitting pretty far forward. I could probably, yeah,
Yeah.
it looks like the knuckle is out of the water there. I could probably move my bottom forward and actually put one foot on either side of that center thwart there. Is one thing I could do there. The other criticism of me there is I've got my shoulders rolled into the center of the boat there.
But
And
I
I
think
think
you're
it's,
leaning, yeah, you're leaning in for the photo. That's why.
I
It's not
think
like-
that's
Yeah.
why. I think someone said, "Hey, John," and I looked under the boom there, and I snapped my
posing,
photo
John.
there. Yeah, exactly. So, well, at least you can see my face there, but I'd rather have my shoulders a little bit further back because it looks like I'm heeled over far enough there. So, yeah,
It
but
does
yeah, I
look
could probably
like
move
it
forward.
does look like from that photograph that the Zest is ideal for a single-handed boat for an adult.
Mhm.
I mean, you don't seem crowded in that boat compared to in the previous photograph. And I know it's probably the angle that it was taken at, et cetera, but you look pretty comfortable.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, and probably since I leaned in for the photo, obviously, I could probably push my legs a little bit to lure it there. My knees wouldn't be, bent beyond 90 degrees. And then my thighs and my back are bent more than 90 degrees here. So I'm thinking I look a little uncomfortable in this photo. Yeah,
A
I
little,
could probably
yeah.
do a better job. So, all right, here's another one. How about this one? Katie and her dad look pretty good.
Mhm.
I think it looks pretty good. I'd like to see the tiller extension held more like a microphone, and probably move the bottom forward a little bit. So instead of having one leg up, you can put both legs in the hiking straps. But probably as the wind gets more, I'm sure Katie would have moved around there. Oh, this is a great photo. This is all kinds of bad. What do people see happening here?
Needs that.
Bad tack. It was a bad tack.
Yeah.
So who's
Is the
that?
helms person
No, he was just too slow to move while tacking, and yeah, that's why the crew had to jump to the other side. They're slowly moving.
the cruise, really getting out, trying to get out there to hike out. It looks like the helms person might be on their knees.
Mhm.
And I think the next slide will talk about how to do a tack so you don't wind up with on your knees there. That's just hurting. It looks like he's going for the main sheet to give the main sheet an ease there, because it looks like they're having a hard time getting the boat to flatten out. Hard to tell if the tiller extension's being used or not there. Looks like he's got his hand all the way behind his back, maybe on the tiller itself. Hard to say, he or she, what's going on in that picture. Oh, so let's talk about the tack here a little bit. And this is straight out of the small boat sailing handbook by US Sailing here. And this, just so you can follow along, the steps go from the bottom of the page to the top of the page here. And this is sort of ideal conditions because we're on the wind, we're about to do a tack. Of course, a good thing to do right before you tack, just make sure that you're not going to turn into another boat or an obstruction, is to look over your shoulder 90 degrees, sort of see where the boat's going to be, to make sure the way is clear, and then also make sure, pick out a landmark that you're going to be aiming at once you get out of the tack. And that's generally going to be about 90 degrees over your shoulder there. So helmsman's done that, said ready about or ready to tack to the crew, and the crew said ready. They're ready to getting prepared to ease the jib sheet, and then we are started to tack, so we put the helm over. Here you can see the main sheet is going behind the helmsperson's back from their forward hand back to the tiller extension there, and using the tiller extension, they can push the helm all the way over. So that's why it's good to hold it like a microphone right at the very end there, because you can see once you get to here where you really have the helm over and you're starting to move across the boat. But then we want to make sure we're sitting far enough forward so when we straighten up our helm and we go to sit on the new windward side, that we don't poke ourselves in the backside with the tiller or the tiller extension there. So that's looking pretty good. You got a blow up of holding that main sheet and the tiller extension behind your hand there. And then it's when you finish your tack that you're gonna then re-grab the tiller extension with your new forward hand there. And then this guy's done a good job of stopping the turn right at that 90-degree angle there. So, it's a little bit of a challenge, but you can see in the diagram, the helmsperson's never got on his or her knees here. And they have to, you're going to have to get under the boom. All of our boats have, you know, a semi-high boom, but you're going to still have to duck under the boom. So it's an uncomfortable position to be in, but it's important that you've got enough physical fitness that you can sort of stand up quickly from a seated position and sort of move around in that squat position there. So whatever physical fitness activities you need to do to get to that level will really help with your tack there. Any questions on the tack there? Sort of make it as ergonomic as possible. Oh, I will mention here, you'll notice in step number 2, the helmsperson is crossing the boat. The aft foot went across the boat first. Any idea why we start the tack with the aft foot?
I mean, otherwise you're just like your butt will be facing forward.
Exactly. You got it, Anna. Yeah. You're
Oh no,
gonna
I've
be
seen it
facing.
happen many times. So
Yeah. So if you start the tack with your aft foot, you're always going to be facing forward. And when you get to step 3, you're going to be able to see the sails in front of you, what they're doing. You're going to be able to see your landmark that you picked out before that was 90 degrees abeam of you when you started your tack. So that's really going to be able to help in straightening up your helm. So you're not oversteering in that tack there. And that'll help you bend your knees in the right direction. It's gonna help with a lot of stuff if you start with your aft foot. So, all right. Any other questions on that? All right. Kia's getting a good look at that, and that is in the small boat sailing book. I mentioned this, but you know, we have to be semi-athletic for sailing. So you know, add into your, you know, healthy lifestyle. We're all sailors and everything, you know, get out skiing, ride your bike, go swimming. You know, you don't have to hit the gym super hard and do all the weights or anything, but maybe some weight training and certainly some stretching is going to help you be a little bit more comfortable and prevent some injuries there. So think about what you can do there with exercise and diet here. Let's move into some conversation about some bigger boats here. Certainly on the small boats, we've got purchase systems that help us with some of the power it takes pulling your sail. We've got a 4-to-1 purchase on the main. The halyards on the Visions certainly have, I think we got a 2-to-1 purchase on the main halyard, and then I think you got a 3-to-1 purchase on the jib halyard. I don't know if anybody's noticed on the Visions, since the luff is inside the sail and you've got that halyard with the 3-to-1 or 4-to-1 purchase, whatever it is, you can adjust the whole rig to the wind conditions on the Visions. Does everybody know that?
can you repeat that? What?
By adjusting the main halyard, you can tighten the rig or you can loosen the rig, and you're going to tighten the rig pretty much as much as you can pull on that jib halyard in heavy breeze.
Oh, on
And
the
then-
gym. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
because and you can do a little bit more, but there's more about it in the rigging manual. If you really want to go wild, like we sort of got it set up in the middle right now, but I always adjust the rig tension before I go out sailing, especially if it's a Tuesday night race or something like that. And especially if it's really breezy, that's one thing that can make the boat depower the boat a little bit, is by tightening up the rig right at the jib halyard there. But you can also adjust the shrouds a little bit. That's a little bit more complicated. You're going to have to untape and take pins out and stuff like that to do that. But I would just recommend for our community sailing center, just leave it right in the middle where it's set up here. So yeah, there's a lot of things that'll help you out with purchase on the small boats there. So think about what's going to make your life easier when you start pulling on a rope. But once we get to the bigger boats, we've got winches on there. Winches are a challenge. this is a really good picture. A lot of times you'll see someone sitting on in the cockpit seat right here. They'll be on their knees. They'll be facing this winch on the leeward side. But I like what this guy's doing here. He's facing forward so he can actually see the sail. So if you're facing, if you're having turn your head sideways to see the Gennaker you're trimming, that's going to be a little bit more challenged, but he can look right at where this jib's going to almost touch the rig and bring that in there. That's good. He's got his leeward foot right on the tow rail, so he's got something to brace there. And winches are usually in the worst part of the boat too. You're usually just like this or sitting right on the cockpit coaming. So if you're sitting on the bench here, you're going to be twisting your back to do that. So I like what this guy's doing, where he's got one foot on either side of the coaming. He's got his shoulders right over the winch, and he's got both hands on the winch handle there. So he's doing a lot of good things. I don't like that he doesn't have a life jacket on, but that's what you get with pictures from the internet. Hopefully he's sailing in nice warm water when he goes over. There's another good picture. Looks like this winch just in a little bit better location. This guy's not having to really straddle the cockpit coaming, but he's got his shoulders over the winch there. So that's looking pretty good there. Oh, docking. How many times have we seen this at our dock?
Never,
All right.
Never. It's never
Never.
happened.
All right. I didn't have a picture from our dock, but I found this picture on the internet there. We've got at least one member who's torn a hamstring when the boat, either separated from the dock when he was trying to get from the boat to the dock, or the helmsperson, was going too fast or didn't get quite close enough to the dock and sort of made a reach for it. So this is a really common injury. What usually tends to happen at our dock is sometimes this happens when people get into the boat, and it's really important. You can get away with a keel boat, just stepping on the side. Sure, you're going to grab the shroud and get on at the widest part of the boat there. But getting in one of our small boats, you're going to have to step from the dock into the middle of the boat, because if you step on the side, what's going to happen on a small boat? You step from the dock and onto the side of a dinghy, what's going to happen to the boat?
No, just tip.
It just tips right over. And yeah, usually the person goes sliding. And it's actually really scary to watch, because they slide right into the water and their head becomes usually precariously close to hitting their head on the side of the dock when this happens. So my suggestion is be really careful. Pull the shroud of the boat right up next to the dock if you're the last person getting on the dock, and then step right into the middle of the boat sort of as you push off from the dock, so that weight goes directly from the dock to the center of the boat, and then get yourself situated and underway. Also, coming back to the dock, make sure follow the sort of general rule of thumb of trying to get the boat to turn into the wind as you make that final approach to the dock. And then there's, of course, a balance of keeping the boat going fast enough that you can make that final turn into the wind and get the boat close enough to the dock there. So that's always takes some practice there. But if the boat doesn't get close enough to do that process in reverse of stepping from the center of the boat onto the dock without doing the splits, then make sure you're ready to do a go around, back that jib or whatever, so you can get out in the breeze and take another stab at it. But yeah, this is where people get hurt a lot of bruises, and I know of at least one torn hamstring at Renton Sailing Center. Oh, but besides this guy's hair gel, I put this picture in here because of his boat shoes. And the shoes and your gloves are your most or to place in your butt to a lesser extent, or to places you're going to connect to the boat there. So I mean, this guy's really ready to hit the bar at the yacht club there more than go sailing, but he does have his boat shoes on. And I have gone sailing with so many people, and they get in the boat. There's some non-skid in there. And, you know, of course we encourage people, you know, just bring some closed-toed shoes and come down and sailing. But if that shoe slides any, it's going to make it really hard to do a good tack and get from the windward side of the boat to the windward side of the boat again there. So I usually get about 1.5 years out of my shoes. You know, I go sailing a lot, but it's important that you minimize how far you're walking through the parking lot, because the rubber is really soft on sailing shoes. And my rule of thumb, as soon as you have an inkling of they're not gripping and I've slipped a little bit, those are going to Goodwill and I'm buying a new pair of boat shoes. So, but I've seen so many people just, their feet just come out from underneath them. And then I was like, yeah, you need to go get some new boat shoes. And I show up with next week with new boat shoes, and that problem goes away. So same thing with gloves. I think I pointed that out, you know, that first picture we showed, people weren't wearing gloves, but man, those ropes are hard on your hands. I was took some guests out sailing in a J80, and it was a particularly breezy day. And so I put one of them on the main sheet, and, you know, it's like, yeah, wear your running shoes, you know, and I didn't even think to try and hook them up with some gloves. Sometimes we have some lost and found gloves in the dock box for those days, but he went to go ease the main sheet, you know, and it sort of let it run out of his hand. It was so breezy, it just put a burn right across his hand there. So that's certainly one of the places you connect with the boat, and that'll make your life easier, prevent some injuries, and prevent the, you know, it's usually these injuries compound, you know, the rope slips out of your hand burns, you let go of the thing, the boat, you know, then heels to windward, someone else falls down. These things sort of compound there. Oh, there's a couple of things I like about this picture here. One is, I'm pretty sure that they're trimming the Gennaker there, the Genoa. They may be furling it. It looks like it's got a couple of wraps on it. It's pretty breezy here. But if they are trimming the Gennaker, one thing that they've done here to make their life a little bit easier is the person trimming the Gennaker, are they on the windward side or the leeward side of the boat?
It's leeward.
We can see the boat sealed to leeward here. So I'm going to say that the person trimming the Gennaker is on the windward side of the boat there. And that's one thing you can do. We commonly do this on the J80 when it gets breezy, and it's called cross sheeting. And so what they've done here is they've led the Genoa sheet to the windward side of the boat here. I can't really tell from the photo how they did that. They probably got some blocks forward of the mast that they did that with there. But that makes it nice, because then instead of sitting way down here to leeward, you're sitting on the windward side of the boat, and you can get a little bit more leverage. I like that she's got her foot up here, and so she can really use her legs and pull back on the rope, and if she needed to pull any more on this, why not just do 2 more wraps and put the winch handle in there, you know? Is sort of makes me wonder a little bit, but I like that they've crossed it there, and she's putting her legs into, because right here, this is your strongest part of your body, is right here in your butt there. So and I do that. There's a couple of places that you can do that on our boats. If you've tucked a reef in the main on the J80, because there's no winch for the main halyard, you really need to get some luff tension. Once you can't do it with the Cunningham once you put a reef in, so you really have to sort of put your back and legs into it. So what I'll do there, and that's coming right off the cabin top, is I will put my feet right against the bulkhead there, and then hold on to the rope as it's going through the clutch. Then I'll use my legs and sort of lean back on the rope and then push with my legs to tighten up the luff on the main halyard there. So yeah, think about ways that you can get your legs into the action there when it comes time to pull on rope. Anything else here? Any other observations? All right, how are we doing? Oh, we're right on time here. I think I just have 1 or 2 more slides here on this, and then we'll do any questions here. Going forward to the bow, there are times when you need to do that. And I like this picture here because looks like this guy's sitting on the, or he's on his knees on the windward side. So I'd ask, you know, why are you on your knees instead of maybe on your bottom? It's going to be a little bit harder to get up from your bottom than your knees, but man, that just kills my knees every time I get on my knees. So I always asking myself, do I have to be on my knees here? But when you're going forward, go forward on the windward side of the boat, because that's going to be higher. Usually the decks are sloped down on a keel boat to sort of shed the water off the deck there, so it doesn't just go into the center of the boat there. So that gives you a little bit more level place to work. And you've always have one hand for yourself and one hand for the boat when going up to the foredeck there. And then think about ways that you can rig the boat that you can minimize having to go to the foredeck. Obviously, they're getting a tack line ready to set a spinnaker here. You know, could have that just been rigged at the dock and just stay rigged? Can you do a weather strip and make sure you get the spinnaker down on the right side of the boat there, so it'll go up, you know, when you round the weather mark correctly. So yeah, if you can minimize your time on the foredeck, you'll make your life a lot easier. I like that this guy's not gotten on his knees. He's sort of figured out a way. He looks like he's holding on to a forestay right there to brace himself. Looks like he's braced himself against the bow pulpit there. So those are some good things. Looks like he's got boat shoes, of course, again, no gloves there. So he's going to get a rope burn when the rope goes through his hands. So, all right. Cool. And we've got some stuff in the chat there. So, oops, I didn't mean to do that. Have I unshared the screen? I think I just did. Yeah. All right. Cool. Let me look at the chat here and see if there's anything. Now everybody said up. People are just leaving early. Yeah. Okay. Cool. David Lips would do a presentation. Okay, cool. Any questions on this?
Hey, John, question. How do we sign up for that June 19th free sale?
Yeah, for Experience Renton Sailing. In the newsletter that we just published, there is a link for the sign up. And yeah, I believe that's also, Brian already dropped off. It might be published on our website, and there is also a flyer at our dock and everything too that's got that published. I know it's definitely published on the flyer that's been on our website here too. So you can find a link in those couple of places there.
Thank you.
Signed up. And I think we're getting, I think last time I asked, maybe we're like 75% full for Experience Renton Sailing. So the signups are going really well for that. All right. Anybody got any other challenges with ergonomics on sailboats that we might address? Let me ask the question that way.
I feel like I'm flunking. I'm the poster child for the bad example. So I got a lot of habits to break in the
Did you
dinghies.
get a couple of tips for some things that might help you out, Judy?
You know, I know all of this stuff, but putting it into practice is something else.
Yeah.
One good thing, sailing with Kurt in the Etchels, he forces me to use the extension on the tiller.
Oh, okay,
That's been a good thing.
good. So you're starting to get used to that.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's weird at first.
It
I'll
is,
agree
yeah.
with you. And you know, I was one of those that had a hard time, you know, sitting on, you know, the right side of the boat at the right time and using the tiller extension when I first started learning to sail. So I agree with you. That can be challenge, a bad habit to break, or however you
Yeah.
want to put that. So. All right. Anything else for the good of the order, or any announcements that we missed? All right. Well, cool. We'll look forward to seeing everyone out sailing here pretty soon. I will go ahead and close up the meeting then. Thank you all.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, John.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Yeah. Good night.